Hey, while it's fresh and on my mind, I wanted to share my thoughts on integration and what that means about trauma and also facing things. So, what I think happens is when we face something that scares us, there are a few different things that we can do. We can face it, or we can run from it. And I think it really comes down to that. Now, the running from it comes in a couple of different forms. Um, One of them is through self deception, through telling ourselves that things are different from how they actually are. From saying that maybe we've imagined something, maybe this, maybe that. Basically, gaslighting. Gaslighting ourselves, gaslighting others, gaslighting our reality. Um, and what happens when we do this, based on my understanding of the neurophysiology of it, and I think this part is actually even based in straight materialism. Like, even if you don't believe in all the crazy spiritual stuff, this should still apply. Um, but I think what happens with the neurophysiology of it is when we are not willing to face something, when we aren't willing to be honest with ourselves about what it actually is, when we lie to ourselves, what we're actually doing is we're creating a neural attractor pattern in our brains that basically it's like following the same route, the same pattern that we've been following before. It's a self-protective mechanism that says, "Hey, this has worked in the past for me, so I'm going to do the same thing over and over and over again." Um, and when we encounter something new that scares the absolute fucking shit out of us, our reaction can be to lie and to say, "Oh, that's not that." Instead of going deeper into this thing that violates our model of reality, violates our model of how we are, instead, we okay, so we're at a point in this attractor path where we've been doing this, oh, and then we encounter something new. We have a choice at that moment. We can go in the direction of that thing that's new, or we can reinforce the path more so that next time we come back to that point where, oh, I encountered something that scared me in the past, we are now less likely to notice it. We literally break down the neural pathways by not using them and filter off sections of our reality, sections of ourselves by doing this. So that's the path of fear. And what it does is it locks us into patterns of the brain where we become less and less conscious. We become less and less aware of what is actually happening around us. It's basically the exact opposite of what happens when someone takes a decent dose of psychedelics, where suddenly that attractor path is all over the place. They are connecting so many different regions of the brain that don't normally talk with each other. Um, it's the opposite of that. Instead of connecting, instead of integrating, creating bridges, it's creating walls. Berlin Wall's going up. We are going to lock things down because we are scared of other. And we basically fragment our minds through fear to a point where we no longer recognize ourselves as ourselves. And that seems to be what happens, unfortunately, when people react in fear to something that they don't understand. So that is the one way we can react to something that's new, or to trauma. And this is in no way, shape, or form a judgment on those who have trauma. I have decent amounts, significant amounts of my own trauma that I've had to work through, and it is painful as fuck. And the patterns that we form in response to trauma are functional. They're useful for helping us to survive that trauma while we are still in it. We learn these neural pathways because they're useful. They help less of that trauma to happen. But then we get older and we still follow the same trauma patterns even when we're no longer in danger. And we have a choice to make. Are we going to face our fears, face our bullshit? Or are we going to run from them? Now, the trouble with running from them is not only do we become less consciously aware of these other ways of thinking, of these other aspects of self, but these aspects of self, they're still there. It's not like they go to sleep. They are still very much affecting our daily actions. But what we've done when we choose fear is we relegate them to our subconscious. We remove, out of trying to protect ourselves, we wall ourselves off from a part of our brain that is dramatically impacting our lives. Except now we've taken away the control seat. We no longer have access to the thing that is impacting our lives and causing us to have these unconscious patterns. That is what fear does. Reacting in fear makes us less conscious of ourselves, but that doesn't make us more functional. It just feels better, feels less scary. And so the other response to trauma, the facing it, this is where it gets scary and honestly should be done with care. I'm not a therapist or anything like that. I'm just sharing my views. That's the disclaimer. Except I've put a lot of effort into these views. I've gone through a lot of pain to reach them. And I do believe there's value in these views that you could gain from them. All right. Facing trauma, facing our fears. What this means is when we face something, when we notice something that causes us fear, that's a part of us that is recognizing an experience that does not currently fit within our model of ourself or of the world. We've reached a point in our neural pathway as we're going through this attractor loop. And right when we get to this point where we feel the fear or the exhaustion or the energy, there's a little something, a little opening where we have the opportunity to go down a different path and slightly alter this attractor network. When we do that, it feels like death, it feels like pain, it feels like intense fear, strong emotional whatever. That shows and it feels different, right? Like it feels almost like our old self is dying. We're not dying. We're just experiencing a different form of consciousness within our own brain. And this is what integration is. When people talk about integration, this is literally integration. It's letting yourself die to your old self to then make space for this new self, this other part of you that you were not currently aware is actually you. And it feels like we're dying because we're going through this threshold to a new place that we've walled off for who knows how long. But if we can just push into that and explore it a little bit, our old self dies and we suddenly are this new thing. And we're suddenly remembering, oh, this new thing is me as well. And then we repeat the process. We let that thing die too. We let go of that and fall back into what we were before. And then each time that we go through this attractor network, we're reinforcing the neural connections between what we've identified with up until this moment and this other thing that's also part of us, right? So we're opening up our state of consciousness so that we now are more fluid. We can now experience things in different ways. And over time, as we practice dying to our old self and inheriting this other mindset that is part of us, that's just been part of our subconscious, we get better and better at it, and we can more easily transition until we unify the whole thing and the whole thing feels like us. We no longer feel like we're dying when we adopt this different, slightly different mindset that was closed off to us before. There is so much more to this. There are ways that we can set our intention before psychedelic journeys, before meditation, to help with this integration process. And I'm happy to talk more about that. This is something I've been doing for years now, very seriously for about a year. It's given me the ability to have breakthrough psychedelic experiences more intense and profound than most of my actual DMT trips, just through breath work and meditation. I'm not at a point where this is consistent. I can't reproduce this all the time, but I guarantee you I would not have been able to have those experiences without doing this serious and painful work of integration. All right, wishing you the best. Hopefully this was helpful. See you next time.